Hi, and welcome to Behind the Bands, the show where we bring you a closer look at local musicians and artists performing in the 4 states.
We're your hosts, Cassandra Williams
and Nellie Lopez, and today we are welcoming to the show Trevor Smith, a Carthage-based website designer and builder by day and singer-songwriter in his spare time.
We're excited to have him in the studio today. We're going to kick things off with an original song by him called Everyone, Everywhere.
An impromptu act of a lackadaisical impalio. We step on the scales just to see your worth and your value. But if everyone everywhere fell apart, if everyone everywhere came apart, if everyone everywhere fell apart, well, I guess I would too, I guess I would too. But apropos, it's unbelievable that someone changed, someone to keep the status quo. But I've been to you, making you want to be the only thing that matters to me. I say let's move in the right way. Juxtaposition is nothing short of a mere chance. We gain ground when we track to a common value set. But if everyone everywhere came apart, if everyone everywhere fell apart, if everyone everywhere came apart, well, I guess I would too, I guess I would too. But apropos, it's unbelievable that someone changed, someone to keep the status quo. I've been to you, making you want to be the only thing that matters to me. I say let's move the right way. Unbelievable that someone changed, someone to keep the status quo. But I've been to you, making you wanna be the only thing that matters to me. I say let's move in the right way.
That was Everyone, Everywhere. And here now we have Trevor Smith. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Worn out from that song, by the way.
So tell us some more about yourself. What inspired your name and how did you get your start?
So Clavadio is a name I came up with. It's a merging of two, a nickname I had at the time I was in a band and the word audio. And I just merged them and shortened them all down into an original word that I called my music so that it would have an original word. I didn't really want to call it Trevor Smith's music.
Something unique.
So you didn't start playing guitar until you were 19.
That's correct.
Challenging, but what made you want to start?
I love music. I've loved music most of my life, and before I could play, I would still make it. I'd make it with my mouth. I didn't write that down as an instrument. That's not something usually people brag about.
Yeah.
But I would sing and make sounds with my mouth, and then when I turned 19, I fell in love with rock music, and then that made me want to play guitar. And so we had it in the house. It was something my stepfather played, and I picked it up, and I just took to it like a fish to water and played all the time, hours a day. There were days I played 6 to 8 hours. That's how intense I enjoyed playing.
Were you just self-taught or did you have lessons?
I started teaching myself initially. I got some music and just figured out how to read it. And I started playing. And then about a year in, I went to college and I took a folk guitar class for about a semester, picked up enough I needed to know there. And from there on, I continued to teach myself.
That's awesome. So how would you describe your musical style, and what are some influences that you think that you've had?
I would say my musical style, I like to refer to it as just raw, but folk would be it, maybe raw folk, alternative. It's just me and my acoustic guitar. My influences mostly were, at the time, bigger bands like Incubus. I was into Creed pretty early on when they were new, and I learned to play a lot of that music, but over time I began to enjoy the nuances of Dave Matthews. Also, when it came to songwriting, I studied lyricists and would read their lyrics and look them up. I carried an Oxford dictionary with me I had a backpack. It was my writing backpack, and for years I carried it with me. I had notepads, a thesaurus, and a dictionary, and I would read the lyrics of the people that I liked, and I would look up words, and then I would try to emulate what they were doing until I just developed my own style. Eddie Vedder was a huge influence on me, of Pearl Jam. Brandon Boyd of Incubus was a big influence on me. They're very creative writers, and the way that they would sing these words would just, it's not what you would imagine if you were just going to make up a rhyme. The way that some words bridge and you rhyme them.
So you mentioned guitar was already in your family, right?
My stepfather played. He played old country music, and so that was mostly what I heard growing up, was him playing that. And I wasn't really as drawn to that at the time. I was more drawn to more contemporary music at the time. I was listening to rap. We're talking about back in the Death Row days of Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. I was very much into that stuff, and then also pop music at the time.
So going back to the song Everyone Everywhere, what's the story behind that song?
Okay, so 2008, I was very interested in politics, and I was watching the back and forth of the political landscape, of the way people would argue over things that weren't even really their ideas. It was the ideas of the politicians. And so I was influenced by that nuance that a politician would just adapt whatever their constituents wanted and make it all about their platform. So they became what their people wanted.
So tell us about the next song you're going to play, Relief. Does it have a special meaning? Or
Absolutely it does. So a little backstory. I was in a band for 10 years. When I was in that band, I wrote a lot of songs that I referred to as almost like anger songs or hate songs. My way of processing when people upset me or events upset me, I would write music about it. It was just my way to process that. It was therapy. Well, I quit my band in 2012, and I almost didn't play for almost a decade. I didn't write any music. I didn't do anything. And when I came back to it, I became all about positivity. I wanted to find the positive things in life and grasp that rather than the anger. Doing that, it made me reanalyze how I was writing, so I started writing more in positivity. I also have anxiety, and so that song was a reminder to myself to calm down. So the first lines of the song are breathe deeply if feeling overwhelmed with heavy situations. So like that's my way of reminding myself when I'm stressed to breathe deeply. And the rest of it are just mechanisms for dealing with stress.
So here's Trevor Smith Clavadio with Relief.
In the instance of burden, sail away with just your lungs. Through the frenzy of season, dispel turmoil. Through kind eyes and soft heart, use abundance of caution. End your lives with just your love. I will not be defeated. At least not now. I will not be depleted. Can we start now? With these simple words, avoid meltdown in moments. Navigate, I take a loss of blood to all senses to the here right now. I will not be defeated. At least not now. I will not be depleted. rise up and believe in. I will not be defeated. I will not be defeated. This is over.
We're back with Trevor Smith. Let's talk about your songwriting. So what does your process look like, and what comes first, your melodies or your lyrics?
Mostly it's the music first. I will, a lot of times whenever I am either just bored, frustrated, music is a therapy for me. So typically I'll just play. And I'll just play and play and play. And I play randomly. There's no thought that really goes into it. It's all improvised music. And then I will genuinely just play until I find something that I like. And if I like what I play, I record it. And then over time, I develop that piece of music into something that's a little more longer. But in the meantime, I'll start just improvising, singing. I'll just sing random words over the top of it. I may have a thought in mind, but usually whatever I'm singing about becomes the theme of the song. And then I'll start to write that stuff down and start thinking more in depth about what I want the song to mean. And I work out the kinks. I write it out. I try to put it in a direction, but ultimately in the end, it's all about making sure that it makes sense, at least to myself, that it rhymes where it should, that it has the depth that I want it to have, and then it sounds the way that I want it to sound. And a lot of times songs can take me up to a year to write. It's a lot of playing over and over and over. So the early versions are, they're just echoes of what the song becomes by the time it's in the end parts.
Can you tell us more about what inspires your sound and some bands you'd recommend to people who like your music?
What inspires my sound? I would say overall, just the bare acoustic. Anybody who does that. Dave Matthews and Tim Reynolds, they've done some live shows together, and it's just two dudes and their guitars. And Dave Matthews' vocal style is so amazing. I would say that's a huge influence on me. There are other musicians as well. It's just a guy and his acoustic guitar. It's just something I relate to. You can take that almost anywhere with you. I don't need electricity. I am the electricity. But I enjoy the raw nature of that. What was the other part of the question?
What are some bands you'd recommend to people who enjoy your music?
That enjoy my music? Silver Sun Pickups. I mentioned Dave Matthews Band until you like Silver Sun Pickups. Mm-hmm. Somebody else who knows who that band is. We're rarities. But Dave Matthews, primarily. Jack Johnson, someone that's really good if you don't know who he is. Radiohead's a band that's been a huge influence on me. Love their music.
So you do perform locally. Is there any favorite spots you have?
The coffee houses have been nice. The bar scene for me, I'm long past that. I played in a band for 10 years around here between about 2005, well, a bit more like 2002 to 2012, and I've played every bar. And while those establishments are fine, it just comes with a certain viewer or the people there aren't there to hear the music. They're there to get drunk mostly. Yeah. So it's not the best venue, although that was primarily the only venue you could play. Coffee houses are more peaceful. Maybe you're there to see the music. And maybe someday we'll have cannabis venues that we can play in, because I can tell you that those folks might be more interested in the music than the drinking folk.
So let's take a listen to another song by Trevor. This one is called Muse.
In me, I've been actually quite really, and thought for sure I seek relief. The only cure looks to be you and me.
was Muse by Trevor. In art, having a muse can relate to a specific person. What is the story behind that song?
I, in the last year, have met a human being who has stressed me out significantly. And stress isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? It's put a lot of thought on me, and it has made me want to do something about that. And the best thing I've come up with, or the thing that it's done, or that person has done, is forced me to write music. I've written 4 songs this year, and that person is responsible for 4 of those songs. And even Muse. Muse is about the fact that that person has impressed me so much that I've written music about them. They've affected me in such a way that it's forced me to write. You know, the echoes in my mind won't stop until I satiate them. Writing music is one way to do that.
Yeah.
Well, it helps express yourself. And make
It's
your feelings
therapy.
Get out there. You said that you like performing in coffee houses. Have you ever wanted to record your music or be in a studio setting?
Well, I have done it in the past. I was in, as I mentioned, my band, we were Ebb and Flow, by the way, was the band. Yeah, so I was in a band, and we did lots of recording, and I don't mind it. What I like about what I'm doing now is, again, it's raw. It's just me and my guitar. I don't care so much how it sounds as much as I can hear it. I'm my biggest fan. I like listening to my own music, but I write it for myself. It's for me, not really for anybody else. It's for me. And so I enjoy it. And I don't need it to be polished. When I was in a band, I was obsessed with the idea that we were going to polish these tracks and they were all going to sound great. And I would toil over them for hours and hours and hours to make them perfect, only to, in the end, not enjoy it any more than I would if it was just a microphone in the room and me.
Yeah. So you have described your style a little bit, but for someone, like, if someone were to ask you, like, what your music is, how would you describe it specifically for them?
I believe I would call it raw, alternative acoustic. Yeah, I like the word raw in there. You know, that way when you hear it and you're like, this sounds bad, and then you're like, yeah, well, he said it's raw.
He said it was raw.
He said it was raw. It's not polished.
Do you play any other instruments, and have you wanted to learn other instruments?
Well, anything with strings, I can make music with, but I have learned in the past to play some keyboards. I got pretty solid at them back in my band days, and you don't really lose that stuff once you gain it. It's just a matter of practice. I would love to learn how to play drums. I've tried a lot. I don't know
Tough
what it is. Yeah, it's like what, rubbing your or patting your head, rubbing your belly times 4 because you're doing 4 different limbs at one time,
Yeah.
right? So kudos to all the drummers out there, because that ain't easy. But if I could play every instrument, I truthfully would.
Yeah.
And honestly, this table is an instrument.
Yeah.
Our hands are instruments. Anything you can make music with is an instrument. So I play all things.
So you did mention you were in a band. Would you consider going back into a band, or would you want to stay solo?
Right now, I'm doing the solo thing because it's very easy for me. Organizing people, organizing equipment, making sure all your equipment works, that's a lot of work. And I did that for 10 years, and I got a little burned out on it. But I wouldn't mind some accompaniment. Maybe some lead guitar to go with it would be nice. But right now, it's all about simplicity. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
You can always add some seasoning later.
Yeah, I mean, I could like put on a tape, you know, maybe some sobbing sounds to go with it. No.
So, tell us about your final song, Need to Be.
Need to Be. Okay. Need to Be is a song that I wrote about being the one you need to be. Or the one you need, sorry. Being the one you need. So I've been on a mental health journey, if you will, in trying to improve my mental health over the last several years. And one of the things I've latched myself to is being for others the one that I need. So if I am feeling low and I would love for someone to be there for me, or at least reach out to me and make me feel better, I should be doing the same thing for other people. So I made a change in my life, and I began to try to be for others the one that I needed.
All right, well, here it is, Trevor with Need to Be.
small stones throw. I may waste all my time, I know, and gladly so. So please, please proceed. I've only gone further on, and please live in between the lines, 'cause there'll never be a thing that will give you everything. You're gonna need to be the one you need to be. I may give all my time to love, as if there is no all. I may waste all my time, I know, and gladly so. So please, please proceed. I've only gone further on, and please live in between the lines, 'cause there'll never be a thing that will give you everything. You're gonna need to be the one you need to be. Ooh, you want to be. Ooh, the one you need. Need to be.
All right, and we're back with Trevor. So can you tell us a bit, what's your proudest achievement as a musician so far?
That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked that. I'm really surprised that you asked that. You know, at one point I might have said something else other than this, but in the last couple of years, I've redefined what success means to me. Playing music, my goal was to be a musician, and I'm very adamant about reaching my goals. And if I can't, I don't like that about myself. So I went through the band and it broke up and it fell apart, and it was very hard for me to accept that as something that I saw as a success. And so it was years before I was able to look at it and see it as a success. I've effectively looked at it as this. I had an idea one day to play music. And I knew when I started playing that I wanted to be a musician. And I knew I wanted to write music. And I knew I wanted to play. But I didn't have any of that yet at the time. It was just me fumbling around on a guitar saying, my fingers are too big. You know, like I can't play this chord. And in the end, I had built a full band. I had acquired all the equipment to put on a show by ourselves. We had every piece of equipment you needed. We had a full van. We traveled. We played in Dallas multiple times. We traveled all over the area and played. And while I wasn't earning money making music, that's how I had defined success. Now my greatest achievement as a musician is having done all of that. It only took me another decade to realize that that was a success.
Well, it's never too late to discover. So.
I know.
So, do you have any plans for upcoming music or events?
Well, I'm trying to get on the Harmony Fest bill right now. If I'm saying that right, I think that's what it's called. It's supposed to be at the Bookhouse Cinema. They're featuring local music, obviously, bands, and also singer-songwriter, solo artists. I've signed up for it. That is hopefully the next thing that I'll do. But overall, I've been doing a lot of pop-up shows, playing here and there, really just trying to get my chops back. I was out of practice for a long time, so I wasn't really trying to bill myself and put my name out there. Just showing up and playing and doing singer-songwriter nights at Blackthorn was helpful. I did Community Fest. I also did Porch Fest. I got on Porch Fest. That was awesome. I can't even believe that I got on Porch Fest. I got to play on a porch, and while that doesn't seem that exciting,
unique.
it's exciting to me.
Yeah,
You know?
it's a special experience. It's like a really cool community event.
As we're wrapping up, can you tell us about how people can find out where you play next, or where they can find you on social media?
You can always look up Clevadio, that's Clevadio, through Google, and you will find me. That's also my Facebook handle, YouTube handle, etc.
Awesome. Well, it's been so great getting to know you. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you so much for being here tonight.
So that wraps up this episode of Behind the Bands. I'm Cassandra Williams.
And I'm Nellie Lopez. And as we close, we'll leave with one more song by Trevor called Life Support.
It was the best dang day I had, waking up right next to you. It was the moment I first saw I was a part of something beyond I thought. Well, it's safe to think there's so much more, but if someone else is in your head, well, then it's not fair. You're keeping me alive tonight. Catch up to speed. Dreams manifest, become the best wave of scenes. Rise to fire, there is no tangible means. Reality is not what it seems. I thought I was a part of something beyond I thought. Well, it's safe to think there's so much more, but if someone else is in your head, well, then it's not fair. You're keeping me alive tonight. You're keeping me alive tonight. You're keeping me alive. Your B-E-A, you're not fall. Well, it's sad to think there's so much more, but if someone else is in your head, well, then it's not fair. You're keeping me alive tonight. You're keeping me alive tonight. You're keeping me alive tonight. No, it's not fair. No, it's not fair that you're keeping me alive tonight.